that? I have no idea.
That was on my Lil Uzi Vert impression.
Okay, because I don't listen to garbage, so.
That was on the radio. I hope you guys liked it. I put my heart and soul on that performance. Anybody. Welcome everybody to the Anthony and Todd Show. I'm your host Trevor, and I'm joined today by my co-host, who you may know as Vincent, aka Vinny Voncent, aka 14 Sticks Inside, aka Push Me to the Edge, aka All My Friends Are Dead, aka the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney World. Vincent, how are you doing?
I like how everything just relates to Hans Zimmer. We gotta find a way every week to hook
Every time.
some abstract Hans Zimmer reference that doesn't make any sense. Because Hans Zimmer he's at the end of the Pirates Caribbean ride.
He plays Jack Sparrow.
Welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Anthony and Todd Show. It's a very special episode of the Anthony and Todd Show. I'm really excited for this week's episode. We're doing our top 10 list, top 10 songs, top 10 albums so far of 2017. I'm really excited to do that.
Through.
And because of that, this week's episode is entitled List Week, more like your list week. So we're doing our top 10 list this week. Top 10 albums, top 10 songs so far. We're also doing a little bit E3 coverage because there's some things Trevor wanted to talk about. There's some things I wanted to talk about. Yeah, it should be a really, really good show. I'm really excited. But before we get into our list, baby, there's a couple things I really want to talk about first. And that's a couple of regrets from last year's list that I kind of have. I don't know if Trevor has any, but I have a couple. The first being, there's a couple albums I didn't get a chance to really appreciate or listen to last year. The first one being Dem Atlas's MF Dem, which I've grown to love even more. Because last year I thought it was kind of good. Besides Perfect Day, I thought Perfect Day was a really, really strong moment on that album. But I was everything else is okay. And as time goes on, I appreciate that album more and more and really love it. I love all of the old MF Doom samples that he uses and everything. I just think everything blends really well. And also Shushu, who plays the music of Twin Peaks. I wasn't even into Shushu last year. I wasn't into Twin Peaks. But over the course of this year, I've grown to love both of them. I think the music of Twin Peaks is excellent. I think Shushu's really good. So hearing those two combined was really unique, and I just love it. It's great. I wish I was able to listen to it last year and appreciate it the way I do now, and it's kind of regret that I have that it wasn't on my list. Also, Lemon Demon with Spirit Phone, an album I've really grown to appreciate. Some of the slickest, weirdest pop music. Neil C.C. Ray guy, he's this genius of making weird music that's really entertaining and it's almost beautiful. All the hooks on this album are amazing, and if you haven't heard it, check it out. Another regret I have with my last year's list is my top 3 were David Bowie with Black Star, Kanye West with Life Pablo, and then Jeff Rosenstock with Worry. I feel David Bowie's still my number 1, but I feel Kanye West and Jeff Rosenstock, I like both of those albums. I probably would have pushed Jeff Rosenstock down a little bit, and I probably would have put Kanye down a lot lower. I feel that album with me had a lot of emotional attachment because I have a lot of good memories of the station, of being at the radio station, and just hearing little gossip stories about the Kanye West album and who was going to be featured on it and the new name for that week that he had. Also, there was going to be 20 Rick Ross features on it. I thought that was going to be a really interesting note.
I was very excited for the Rick Ross features. I don't think he delivered very well on that one.
But I had a lot of emotional attachment. And I still think the album's good, even though it has its low moments and it has its really, really high moments. I probably would have put it somewhere in the middle of my list instead of number 2. But yeah, I also think a couple numbers down, I had Carsey Harris and Frank Ocean. I probably pushed those up. And I definitely would have pushed Danny Brown up because I keep on listening to that album. I'm why did I put this so low on my list? I like it so much. So yeah, those are kind of my only regrets from last year's list. Do you have any?
I do. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned both Carsey Headrest and Frank Ocean because they didn't even rank last year on my list. They didn't even make it on the list. But as I've listened to their albums more, I have found that I have enjoyed those two albums a lot more than I did in the past. I think that Carsey Headrest definitely deserved to be higher up on my list. I think Danny Brown, I still beat myself up every single day about my top 6. I could not decide what order to put them in. I just love them all so much. But I think Danny Brown probably should have been a little higher than 4, bumping some of the other ones down. I really enjoyed Across the Exhibition. I think it probably should have been higher up. A couple albums I probably wouldn't even rank anymore. Local musician Icicle, I've come to not really. I like his album a lot, but I don't think it was
Year-end list qualifier.
Yeah. Also, I've come to realize that White Denim, I really, really enjoy their music. I discovered them last year with their latest album, Stiff. Vincent didn't even listen to this one. This was just kind of something I did on my own. And I've come to really, really enjoy their music. I've come to really enjoy a lot of the stuff that they've put out in their past discography. And I think that Stiff is a really solid album of what White Denim really stands for. And I think it should have been higher up for how much I really actually enjoyed it.
Is that it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Would you still, if we did our list, our last year list today, would you still have Coloring Book at number 1?
I think number 1 either deserves to go to Danny Brown or Chance, one of the two on my list, at least. But I just couldn't decide which one.
Okay, I think that's it. Now we gotta go into something new. We're gonna try to predict each other's number 1 song and album. We're gonna try to keep it stone-faced because I don't want any spoilers to Trevor. But I feel like Trevor's number 1 song, I know that for a fact, is keep emotionally stone-faced. I don't want to be spoiled. I'm not even gonna look at you.
I can't.
Your number 1 song for sure is Moments. Don't tell me if it is or not. We gotta go through our list. And your number 1 album is probably Humans, just to spite me. I'm not looking at you. I don't want to know yet. We gotta go through our list. And now you try to guess mine.
Okay, I think your number 1 album is Father John Misty. And I think that your number 1 song is LCD Sound System's Call the Police.
Okay, let's see if our predictions are correct. I'm gonna go first. Top 10 songs. I'm really excited. I changed my top 10 songs list 400 times over the past 4 days.
Same, pal.
I'm glad we're recording this on Friday because I had a chance to edit my list 900 more times, so that's good. So I have a couple honorable mentions. I have one unique honorable mention that's I don't really want to put it on my list. It's just kind of a bonus thing. But Radiohead just released a remastered version of OK Computer, and on that came a bunch of side tracks, and one of them was Lift, which is a song that they became famous for because they performed it at Pink Pop a couple years, back in the 90s, I think. So yeah, I've heard that song a couple years ago, and then it came back to my mind because of a Deep Cuts video where he talked about Radiohead, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this song. And then they finally released a studio version of it with OK Computer, but it's still not a song from this year, so I just kind of want to put it on my list. I enjoy the song. It's good. It's not as good as their Pink Pop performance, but I still really enjoy it. But now on to my honorable mentions. I have 2 honorable mentions, so I will cover real fast. First is JID with Ed and Eddie. I just love this track. It's corny, and when your title is Ed, and Eddie, it has to be fire, because if not, you're ruining my childhood. The song's great. I love it. It's really corny. It's cheesy. And it has a sharp hook on it that I love that always gets stuck in my head. After that is Quelle Chris with Buddies. I really enjoy this song.
Buddies
it's
is
weird.
so
Quelle
funny.
Chris just produces some of the strangest hip-hop I've heard this year, and I love it.
Funny.
This song's great. If you haven't heard it, check it out. This is another hook that also gets stuck in my head at all times. Now on to my actual list. Top 15 songs. You ready?
I only did 10.
I did 15 because I told you about this because I had 900 songs and I narrowed it down to 15. So I'm doing
it anyway.
So top 15 for me. Top 10 for Trevor because he's a little nerd. But number 15, Sampha, No One Knows Me Like the Piano. It's off his latest album, Process. Really emotional piano ballad that I think you should check out. After that, Brother Ali with Own Light, What Hearts Are For. This is another catchy song that I just loved. Brother Ali coming through. This kind of served as an introduction for Brother Ali for me, just to see what his music sound like. And I wasn't really disappointed with this track. I love it. Another song that gets stuck in my head a lot. I like the guitar that starts off the track. I love the hook. I love how Brother Ali's singing and rapping at both, and it's just great. After that, we got Mac DeMarco with one of the more emotional tracks off his latest album, This Old Dog, Moonlight on the River. I really enjoyed this track. I love the distorted guitar pedals. I just love it at the end of the track. This is actually one of the more deeper tracks on Mac's album. He goes deep. He talks about his father and all the emotional baggage that kind of comes with that. This track demonstrates how Mac has matured as an artist, especially with this album. I just love it so much. It's just catchy, even though it is a really, really depressing track. Just Moonlight in the River just gets stuck in my head all the time. I especially love the ending. It's a great track from the album. It's just a great song in general. One of my favorites of the year. After that, number 12. I have to give it to Gorillaz. I fought for sure for the longest time that Charger was going to be on my list until a couple weeks ago. They drop a track, Sleeping Powder, which is just a 2D only song. And it's a shame that they wrote this after Humans and this wasn't on the album, because this is like probably the best Gorillaz song that they've released so far in 2017, and it wasn't on the album. It's a shame. It describes so much what I liked about Gorillaz. It reminds me a lot of kind of like Plastic Beach. And it's a shame that they didn't put this on the album, or they wrote it after the album. It's kind of rushed. The lyrics are kind of weird, but I think it's a great track. It's one of my favorite songs of the year. Also, number 11, Alt J with 3WW. For a while, In Cold Blood was on my list, but I feel like 3WW is more beautiful, and it's a more rare moment on their last album, Reaxer. It's a longer track, but it's really enjoyable. I just like everything about it. I like how it starts. You don't get into the vocals right away. It just kind of builds, and I really enjoy that. After that, number 10, Frank Ocean with Biking, featuring Tyler, Creator, and Jay-Z. I just love this track. It's so weird that we got a Tyler, Creator, Frank Ocean track this year, and it's amazing that Frank Ocean keeps on releasing new music, and it's not like 2055.
He's working his way out of the Bermuda Triangle. He's doing it.
But yeah, this track's great. It has shades more like a Tyler Creator song, than a Frank Ocean song. And Jay-Z, at first I didn't really see why he was there, but I've grown to like love this song and everything about it. I especially love the end where like Frank Ocean's doing like Young Thug like vocals, where he's just kind of like moaning stuff and screaming. It's almost like if Young Thug and Death Grips had some like weird child. It's kind of what it sounds like, in my opinion, but it's really enjoyable and I like it. After that, number 9, Fleet Foxes with 3rd of May /
Oh god, the era.
Dagera. Swedish, right? So it served as an introduction for Fleet Foxes for me. I really enjoy it. It kind of showed me what the band's all about, and I really love this track. After that, number 8, I have to give it to Kendrick Lamar. Even though I'm not the hugest fan of that album and the way it's formatted or how it's executed, DNA is a banger of a track. It's probably the best moment off Damn. What are you looking at me?
Debatable.
It is the best moment.
Debatable.
Blood going to
Debatable.
DNA
Debatable.
is perfect.
Debatable.
Okay,
Debatable.
I'm not going to fight you on this, but I love this track, Kendrick Lamar. I wish there was more moments like this on the album. I really enjoyed this track, and I think it's good. Kendrick, I especially love how the beat switches up towards the end, and you get this strange kind of like vocal sample almost, and it's just great. Number 7, The Districts with Ordinary Day, one of the catchiest songs of this year. It just gets stuck in my head all the time, and it's just one of those songs that you could just sing to at any point. It's just great. Catchiest song of the year, I feel like, in my opinion. Love it so much. Districts, Ordinary Day, at number 7. Number 6, I have Brockhampton with Star. There was a lot of good moments on Brockhampton's last album, and the reason I chose this one out of all of them is I feel like it's the most consistent with, like, everyone's verse just builds on top of the last, which I really enjoy. And, of course, if you mention Secret Agent Cody Banks in a hip-hop song, I have to give you a spot on my list. It's kind of like an unwritten rule I have. I just have to. I just have to give you a spot. But yeah, Amir Vaughn's verse is probably one of my favorite hip-hop verses of this year. I just love it. Kevin Abstract comes through with a verse at the end that I really enjoy. Number 5. I Feel Weird.
Comb your beard. Brush your teeth.
Still feel weird.
Eat your meat. Go to sleep.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Robot Steckman. Number 5, Thundercat, Captain Stupido. I know that's not how you pronounce it. grill me with your like 4 years of Spanish knowledge, Trevor. I know I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, this track is the best moment off Thundercats' last album, Drunk, and it combines jazz with Thundercats' weird antics, and I just love it. I wish the rest of this album was this weird. Just Thundercat comes through with lyrics about beating his meat, losing his wallet at the club, and Jesus taking the wheel. It's so weird, and I love it. It gets stuck in my head all the time. I usually sing this song to annoy Trevor at any moment in time. And it's just a great song. Check
Doesn't
it
really
out.
annoy me.
I just do it to kind of like, at moments when I want to piss you off, I just think Thundercat. Just because it's just weird. Okay, Trevor, I need you to clench yourself. Restraint. Are you restrained?
We're just trying to...
Okay, number 4. Father John Misty. With Ballad of the Dying Man.
I actually like this track. I debated putting it on my own list.
Ballad of the Dying Man. I was stuck between Total Entertainment Forever.
I like that one too.
Or Ballad of the Dying Man. I ended up going Ballad of the Dying Man. I liked kind of like the message he had with Total Entertainment Forever, but I really enjoyed the hook on the song. I just enjoy everything about this song, and it's a good track. The album's good as well.
It's actually not.
It's good
contrary
album.
to popular belief, it's not.
My number 3, Rich Chigga, Keith Ape, XXXTentacion, Gospel. Best banger
good.
of the year.
Dude, where's Ja Rule on the freshman Temple
Where's
XL?
DMXX? Where's DMX on the freshman list? Yeah, this Gospel is a great track. I didn't think XXXTentacion would ever make my list, but somehow Rich Chigga, Keith Ape, and him come through with just a masterpiece of a banger. It's just great. Anytime I listen to this song, I get hyped. It's awesome. Now we gotta get darker a little bit, get a little bit moody. Number 2, David Bowie, No Plan. I was surprised that David Bowie was still able to release music after he died. I didn't think...
He's a very talented man.
I didn't know he had spiritual powers, but this track's amazing. I love it. It's kind of a shame that he didn't put on Black Star, but the whole entire EP serves as like Black Star B-sides. And all the songs on the EP are really good, so this is probably my favorite out of the EP. And I love it. I just love how it's kind of like a contrast to Lazarus. He comes through maybe not in heaven, but in purgatory, which is kind of cool. And I really enjoyed this track. And it's nice that we got more David Bowie music that's actually good after he died. This what didn't really seem like a cash grab. It was released for money, but it doesn't feel like a cash grab.
It earned him a profit, but it needed to be released.
Yeah. And number 1, Kirin J. Callinan, S.A.D, Song About Drugs, S.A.D, whatever you want to call it. It is the weirdest song I've heard this year, and it is great. I love this song. It is amazing. It gets stuck in my head all the time. And yeah, it's just amazing. Kirin J. Callinan, he's making some of the weirdest music right now, and I love every second of it. This is the epitome of his last album. I was kind of stuck of picking Living Each Day or this song. I ended up picking S.A.D because it's just great. It's a great track. That is my number 1 track of 2017 so far. Trevor, you were wrong.
I'm not wrong. I thought for sure that would make it on there at least somewhere.
Now it's your turn, buddy old pal.
Okay. So, I actually came up with 15 tracks.
Oh, you did 15?
Yeah, I
just
did 15. Now? No, I had them. I had honorable mentions. I was like, you know what? I'll just make these into my tracks.
Okay.
I still have some honorable mentions. First one being "Show You the Way" by Thundercat, featuring Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins. I just think that to be able to drag these two guys out of retirement essentially to sing with you is amazing.
I have one thing to say. Have you seen this Jimmy Fallon performance of this song?
Yes.
And they're dressed Kenny Loggins and
Michael McDonald.
Yeah, Michael McDonald are dressed normally. Thundercat's wearing gym shorts and some weird hairpiece, some weird wig.
He doesn't care.
Thundercat's amazing. I love him.
Second honorable mention, the Aquabats are back to making new music. I'm very surprised. Just yesterday, they dropped their newest single, Dr. Space Mummy. I guess, like, I don't know, for the past couple months, they've been, like, revamping their website. They went on tour, revamping all their merch. Something's coming from them. I don't know when. I don't know what. I don't know if they're going to continue with the TV show. What's going to happen? But I'm really hoping that we hear some more out of them because I actually did enjoy this track. And then my last honorable mention is EXO Tour Life by Lil Uzi Vert. This is the first time I've actually enjoyed anything by Lil Uzi Vert, and it's so stupid. It's such a dumb song.
That kind of hurts me. I don't even like
it's
that
so
track.
Stupid. Anyway, on to my list. Number 15 is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. I just love this track so much. It's super like iconic of what Beethoven really stands for. Just a big fan. Number 14, I don't like the track particularly, but all the meme potential that came from it. Mask Off by Future. Particularly the Kendrick Lamar remix is better, of course, than the original. But have you seen those flute remixes?
Yeah.
Top notch. Number 13 is In Cold Blood by Alt J. I didn't really like Alt J when he first started putting out music, but I think he's really grown on me. And the reason I didn't like it is because I thought that his stupid line about eeny, meeny, miny, mo in Left Hand Free was the dumbest line of the century. It still is a dumb line, but I've come to enjoy Alt J. Number 12 is Sampha's Blood on Me. Really enjoy that track. I really enjoy Sampha as an artist. More to say about that later. Number 11 is Talk to Me by Run the Jewels, of course. I'm surprised they didn't make it anywhere on your list. But
Also, one thing I forgot to point out, our lists are a little bit different than everyone else's list because we did our last year, our 2016 year list, we did at like December 15th or something like that. So Run the Jewels.
The year wasn't technically over.
So yeah, like
music
anything
still comes out after December 15th.
Everything after our list qualifies. So hence Run the Jewels.
I think that was a really cool opening track to their third project. I thought their third album was really neat. 10 is A Little Uncanny by Connor Oberst. I really, really enjoy this track. It's like a modern day Vietnam War protest track. I don't know. It's just kind of hard to sum it up in any other way but that. He talks about Jane Fonda, Ronald Reagan, finally going off to war and being a man, but he hates every minute of it. Very subtle. Number 9 is Chanel by Frank Ocean. Really like that track too. Very smooth. And like you said about Frank Ocean, I'm really surprised that he's continuing to release music on a decently regular basis. You know?
It's like every month he's been releasing a track or he's been featured on a track.
He's been doing at least so. He's been keeping busy. He's been doing something.
He's like, wait, I can just release music?
Wait a minute.
What?
Number 8 is, of course, the Target remix of It Takes Two featuring Lil Yachty and Carly Rae Jepsen. This track took me by surprise, so much, and I really actually enjoyed it, unironically. Lil Yachty is so funny to watch. Carly Rae Jepsen, I think, gets a bad rap for Call Me Maybe, but as she's grown as an artist, I think that she's become more of a good, just a good, decent pop star, as well as a good female role model. I think that she's done quite a bit in the music industry that she doesn't really get credit for. Number 7 is Own Life by Brother Ali. Vincent and I just really enjoyed this track. Ironically, number 6 is Fleet Fox's 3rd of May. I just think this track is it's easily dividable. You could easily divide it into 2 parts, but you never know what to expect next. And I think that's one of my favorite things about music. If you make a song that I can't predict at all, if I can't predict anything that's going to happen after this chord, this bridge, this chorus, then it's automatically got me hooked, or at least more hooked than any other song would. Number 5 is Portugal the Man's Feel It Still. They haven't released music for a while. I wish they would have called their last album Doomin' and Gloomin' like it was supposed to be called, but then they called it Woodstock, and I was like, it'll move down a little bit on the list. Number 4 is Ran by Future Islands. I've really enjoyed that track. I've never really had any run-ins with Future Islands. besides their last two singles, but I definitely want to check out the Far Field from what I've heard from that. Number 3, here's my debatable moment from Kendrick Lamar's last album. Feel is the best track on the album. Do not at me.
No, I don't think that's like, I'm not angry about that one. It's not the best moment in my opinion, but it's a good track.
I think it is. Number 2 is Saturn's Bars by Gorillaz. That was such a fun track. I really enjoyed Popcorn's feature on that because really I think Popcorn is a super underrated artist. He's not used to his full potential, and there are only some people that can, aka Jamie XX and Gorillaz actually use him. And I think if other artists just saw how fun he can be on a track, it doesn't even matter if you can understand what he's saying or not. It doesn't matter if you can get through that accent. I think just the energy he brings to a track is unprecedented. What were you gonna say?
I just did a little cross, and I was just like, thank God, no De La. I was just like,
whatever. And then my number 1 track of the year is. What'd you think it was?
Please don't tell me it's De La Soul.
It's De La Soul.
Is it really?
No, it's Chicano Batman's "Friendship is a Small Boat in the Storm."
Thank God.
White Denim, this is kind of just an undertaking I've gone by myself. Chicano Batman is like a Mexican American. I don't know, almost it's like a rock band mixed with a mariachi band, I guess, traditional Mexican music. And their last album, Freedom is Free, that came out this year, I've really enjoyed. This is one of their biggest or best tracks on the album. All falsetto, all keyboards and these. It's just really good. So check them out. That's my best song list.
Okay.
Push me to the all my friends are dead.
I'm gonna do my top 10 albums. Only 10, but I have a couple honorable mentions that I want to get through real fast. The first honorable mention I want to mention is Quelle Chris. Being You is great. I wish I could be you more often. Weirdest hip hop album that I've listened to this year, and I love every second of it. The more I listen to this album, the more I appreciate it. And a couple more listens, it may be actually on my list. Number 13, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with Flying Microtonal Banana. I really enjoyed this album. I don't think it will be on my year-end list because they're releasing an album at the tail end of this month.
They're releasing
more
albums.
Yeah, they're also
this
releasing
year.
10 albums this year.
Cool.
But they're releasing an album at the tail end of this month that I feel like, from what I've listened to, is probably going to be 1,000 times better than this album. Not to say this album is bad or anything. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of my favorite musical moments this year. But I feel like their next album is going to be on the next level-ish.
I would really like to praise King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for experimenting with microtones. Not something that people do too much. If you don't know, music is split up into steps and half steps. So if you go up the keyboard, C to C sharp is a half step. C to D is a whole step. There are notes in between the C and the C sharp that are microtones. They're hard to get on instruments, but there are certain instruments that are built just for playing them. I think that was a really cool step for them to go in, is to experiment with something like that, because not a lot of artists do that.
Now it's time for Kendrick Lamar to drop a microtonal hip hop album.
It's called Rapping Microtonal Banana.
Okay, my second to last honorable mention. Neil Cicerega, Mouth Moods. Best meme music of this year has come from...
Nope, it's a Mask Off. That's the best meme music.
Best meme music came from this album. It's beautiful for even a meme album. I don't know how he does it. Every time I listen to one of his projects, he just surprises me in some way, and it came through on this project, and I really love it. If you're in a mood for some memes, listen to this album.
Listen to Mask Off.
You can listen to that too, I guess. And my last honorable mention, Wiley with Godfather. It's just some good grime. I just like grime. Yeah, but Wiley, Godfather, this album's great. It's just a great grime album, and it's my first introduction with Wiley. And the more and more I listen to this album, I just love it. I just love Wilde's speed. I like his tone. I like his verbiage. It's really nice. Okay, now onto my actual list. Number 10, Kerwin J. Callinan, Bravado. Love this album. Weird rock music. This album surprised me because I heard the singles and the singles are great, but I was like, something's got to give, and he came through with a lot of tracks I wasn't really expecting, but I thought were really, really good. And there was a lot of features on this album. There's a lot of moments that kind of like shocked me, and I really enjoyed this album. I think you guys should check it out. Number 9, Kendrick Lamar. Damn. I'm not the hugest fan of this album, but I do like the songs. There's not a song that I hate. The only reason I dislike some of these tracks is their placement. I don't think any of the songs on this album are bad, but they're weirdly placed weird. Or they just contrast with styles. Like, for example, Love. Love, it doesn't really sound like a Kendrick song and doesn't sound like it should fit on the album, but it's still a good track. I still really enjoy the track, even though it does sound like a good Drake track instead of a Kendrick Lamar track. I really enjoyed this album, though. All the music from it's good. It's just placed weird, which is unfortunate because it could have been better. Number 8, Brockhampton, Saturation. This album, Brockhampton, well, they've released music before. Kevin Abstract's released music before. And I got into this year after they released the track Heat. And then every single that they released after that is just good. And not only were the singles good, the music videos were actually like, they related to each other. They all followed the same style of the album. And kind of, they all followed each other, which was really nice. And this album is just great because it doesn't like get boring ever. It's just track after track after track after track of just great songs that build off of each other. And it's a great album. I love basically the songs got me to appreciate Amir Van. It's also got me to appreciate Kevin Abstract. I love this album. It's great. But another hip album that surprised me, Run the Jewels with Run the Jewels 3 at my number 7 spot. Run the Jewels did it again. They did it again. They persistently got better album after album. I don't know how they did it. They just did it. It's Killer Mike. It's LP. It's a great album. A bunch of politically charged tracks that I really enjoy. And yeah, they did a good job. They did a good-ass job with Run the Jewels 3.
I heard you're going to sell it to Snats at the Grammy. But too bad. They gave it away for free. Merry Christmas.
Number 6. Pepperoni Playboy. Mac Daddy. Mac DeMarco.
I don't think that's his name.
Mac Daddy? His name's not Mac Daddy?
That's his last name. Daddy.
Mac DeMarco. This old dog. Mac DeMarco really matured on this record. I've never really enjoyed a Mac DeMarco project before this. I've enjoyed Mac DeMarco's songs, but this is his first concise album that I really enjoyed. It does differ somewhat in the middle, but it doesn't, by differ I mean it doesn't follow like the theme of the overall album, but still the songs in the middle are still catchy, they're still enjoyable. I love everything about this project. Mac DeMarco has matured so much. This album's great. Give it a listen. And now Trevor, it's time for you to clench yourself yet again. Clench yourself.
I'm clenching.
You're buckled
Father
up.
John Misty, just tell me.
Father
I know
John
what it
Misty,
is.
Pure comedy. This album, it's a good album.
Next.
Good folk album. Listen to it.
Fuck you.
Father John Misty again. Listen to this album. It's great. Number 4, Fleet Foxes. Crack Up. Listen to this album really recently just so I could see if I wanted to put it on my list. And I loved every second of it. It's a really beautiful album. Really beautiful folk album. Number 3. Okay, I don't know if you heard this album, but I feel like if you listened to this album, you would dislike it. Sunkill Moon. Common as Light. In Love Are Red Valleys of Blood. That's a mouthful album title. But Mark Kozilek is he's a really weird dude. And I don't know why I like this album. Because on paper, it's a really, really long album. It's a 2-hour long album. And all the tracks are around 8 to 12 minutes. It's a folk album, but it mixes in elements of hip-hop and spoken word. And Mark, he just, on these tracks, he just rambles. And I don't know why I like this album. But when I was listening to it, I just loved it. Like on paper, I shouldn't like this album, but it's great. He comes through with a lot of very personal tracks, tells a bunch of stories, some being more political than the next, but he covers a bunch of different topics, and I just love it. How he incorporates like almost like hip hop and spoken word into folk music, which is so weird. And it does ramble at times, but overall, it's a really enjoyable experience, and it's one of my favorite albums of the year. And I just love it. It's a great album. Check it out, Trevor. You should check it out, and then hate every second of it because you hate long folk songs. I know you. You're gonna dislike this album if you listen to it though. Number 2, Mount Erie. A Crow Looked at Me. Really, really sad album. It's like, this album is good, but it's sad that it had to be made in a sense. I'm not saying like this album's great and you should give it a listen like that, but it's a really hard listen. Probably the hardest listen out of any one of my albums, because it's just what's his name? Phil Elverium. I think that's his name. I'm probably saying it wrong because I'm an asshole, but his wife died back in 2016, I think, and this is kind of him going through the mourning process in a sense, and it's a hard listen, but it is a great album that kind of shows you what the mourning process is almost kind of like in a sense, and it's a good album. It's a very hard listen though, but I would definitely recommend it, even though it probably shouldn't exist, but it's a really good album, even though what it kind of stands for, or kind of the events he had to go through to make this album. Number 1, Shoo Shoo.
The music of Twin Peaks. Actually, no, they put out another album.
Forget. Experimental pop music. It's weird because this served as kind of an introduction again, because I just got into music like this year. I've never heard any music before this, but this is my first experience with Shoo Shoo. That got me to go back to like Twin Peaks and stuff like that, but it's a really positive experience. Every time I listen to this album, I fall in love again. It's so strange. They're making like pop music that is just so out there and great. There's no really any other artists that are doing what Shoo Shoo is doing right now, and this album, moments like Forget, moments like Jenny Go Go, die, kneel over and die right now. Moments like Forget, moments like Jenny Go Go, moments like At Last are just amazing. They're kind of like, they're sad, but at the same time they're also like really, really enjoyable and powerful. Beautiful. I just love this album a lot. Can't stop listening to it. Anytime I have a chance, I just keep on pulling up this album. I'm like when I was doing my list, I kind of put Shoo Shoo kind of low, and then I really listened to it, and I was like, okay, and I got a little bit higher, and I re-listened to it again, and it just got to my number 1. I was like, this is the best album of this year. I just can't stop listening to it. Really enjoy it. It's a great album. Yeah, that's my list.
Cool.
Will it be that way at the end of the year? Who will know? Ooh, spooky outro.
Yeah, like, huge disclaimer, my list is not going to stay the same.
Okay.
We'll probably talk about it later, but in my opinion, 2017 has been sort of a weak year for music, at least compared to last year. It was really hard to pick, like, my top 10, just because, like, I haven't enjoyed a ton of albums this year. I've enjoyed songs, as you see. Some of them I haven't listened to all the way. I haven't listened to Fleet Fox's full album yet. It just came out like a couple days ago. I haven't listened to the whole thing. I haven't listened to the whole Future Islands, whole Portugal the Man, the whole Alt J, things like that. You know, I haven't listened to all of them yet. I've listened to parts. I've listened to strings of songs, I guess, but I'm not completely done. So I feel like my list is a little bit broken up and not really a good representation of what I've enjoyed this year, but I can at least say for a fact that I've enjoyed these albums this year. My first honorable mention, I only have one honorable mention actually. The creator of Steven Universe, one of my favorite shows. I watch it with my brother all the time. We really enjoy like the story of characters. Everything's so good, especially for an animated show. They released their official soundtrack very recently. It didn't technically come out this year. Like, the soundtrack did compiled them all, but the songs didn't technically come out this year. So I thought that was just like a good honorable mention because the music on this show is really good, from the ambient like piano ballads in the background to like the actual songs that the characters sing. A lot of really heartfelt songs, or a lot of really fun songs, just like very beautiful from a music theory standpoint. Even
Estelle's on that show, right?
Estelle is on that show,
okay.
yeah. And she like is featured in some of the songs. It's really interesting. My 10th album, number 10, is All the Beauty in This Whole Life by Brother Ali. We both listened to that. It was pretty good. Like I said, it's just hard to pick albums this year. Number 9 was Dirty Projector's new project. Dirty Projectors, of course. I've come to find that I really enjoy, like, when you were talking about your albums, there were a lot of folk albums on there. A lot of folk,
which
folk
is weird.
rock, experimental folk hip-hop, things like that. Like I know that you're not super into, not like super into like folk songs, but I think like it's something that we both enjoy, is like that folky kind of feel. But on the subject of Dirty Projectors, I've come to find that stuff like the Avalanches, like remixed things, I've come to really enjoy. A lot of, I don't want to call them mixed media because they're not, but when you mix like your own things with sampling, with voice samples, with voiceovers, weird instruments, microtones, that kind of thing, I find that I really enjoy the music a lot more just because like I can hear all the different mixed media being used in the song. I think Dirty Projectors did a really good job of that, and they have done a good job of that in the past, but I think that this album does a good job of using that mixed media that I enjoy. Number 8 is Brockhampton's Saturation. Side note on this, I think that groups like Brockhampton are so important. Especially like from an underground hip hop. What are you doing?
I'm just like, for some reason when you said Brockhampton, Gold just like started playing in my head, and I'm just like sitting over here bouncing around.
I think that like these underground acts are so important. You see things like Drake, you see people like Future that are starting to like sell out. You see them get big and they sell out. Not every artist is supposed to be big. Not every artist is supposed to be famous, and that's just the way that it is. And I think that underground rap, underground hip-hop acts are some of my favorite because they can experiment like that, because they have freedom to do things. I think that MF Doom, my favorite rapper, he had so much freedom in what he was doing, but he was the king of underground hip-hop. He was the king of those underground acts, and you see where it got him. He got to record with people like Madlib. He got to wear that mask and have privacy in his own life. He's hiding away somewhere. Who knows? If he was Drake, if he got as big as Drake, there's no way he could ever do something like that. I think that underground following is something that's really important in the hip-hop world. We see artists like Danny Brown that get bigger because of that. We see artists like MF Doom, artists like A$AP Rock, things that are like, they are underground. But you look at artists like Injury Reserve or Brockhampton or Run the Jewels that continue to release free music, continue to have that free reign of doing what they're able to, like doing what they want to do and having that like creative freedom. And you see good projects like Floss. You see good projects like any Run the Jewels album. You see good projects like Saturation. And I think that those kind of acts are super important. And that's why Saturation is on my list now, is because they had the creative freedom to do what they want.
One thing I forgot to mention about Saturation. You don't know how many members there are. It seems like there isn't no key guy like Amir Van and
they're
like
being
Kevin
pulled out of like a black hole.
Yeah,
There's
like,
so many members.
There could be like 7 or maybe 900.
There's 7 in Brockhampton, and I thought there was like 3. And then Injury Reserve, I was like, there's easily like 9 guys on this album, and there's 3.
Injury Reserve, there's like 4, but like
It's 3.
No, there's Richie with the T, Steppa, and the producer's name I forget a lot. But there's also Richie, just regular Richie, but I don't think he's associated with them. I don't know if he was like a feature at one point, but he's kind of like an on and off member, I believe. I may be wrong about that, but
so yeah. Anyway, Saturation, Brockhampton. Really, like, look them up. This is the kind of like creative freedom I wish I had. I wish I could make something like this. That'd be so cool. Anyway, number 7 is Mount Erie's A Crow Looked at Me. Like Vincent said, very sad listen, but I think it was also like a necessary thing, you know. This is like what music is supposed to be, is people like pouring their emotion into what they do. And I think that a lot of the time music lacks that, and Mount Airy really nailed it with this. He put his emotion into this. Number 6 is Sampha's Process, another kind of underground act that I really enjoyed this year. Sampha, I don't hope he blows up, but I do. I wish him the best. You know,
he's gonna do some big things because he's already like featured on a couple Drake tracks, and he's been on Solange's last album. So like,
I wish him the best without selling out. That is about the best I can do for.
He's gonna do some big things.
Yeah. Number 5 is This Old Dog by Mac DeMarco.
I think his name's actually Mac Pepperoni.
It's actually Mark. Mark Hamill's album, This Old Dog. It was good. Sometimes I just feel a lack of things to say when you say them. Number 4 is Freedom is Free by Chicano Batman. Like I was talking about for my top song, I just really enjoyed Chicano Batman. I check them out. You can hear the blazing Mexican sun and street market in their music. I just really, really enjoy what they're putting out. Number 3 is Brace Yourself.
It's Gorillaz.
It's just moments. No, it's Gorillaz Humans. We had a big discussion about it, but as I have gone on since that discussion, I've come to find that I listen to Humans more often than I would like to admit. A lot of tracks on here that I enjoy. Ascension, Strobe Light, Saturn's Bars, Moments, Submission, Charger, Andromeda, Busted and Blue, Let Me Out, Hallelujah Money, The Apprentice, like just a lot of tracks that I enjoy. And I think that alone should be able to land at a spot on my list. That being said, I do really enjoy Sleeping Powder. I do really enjoy that like throwback to old Gorillaz, and I kind of hope that they go back in the direction. I was like, yeah, I had a fun time at the party, but kind of want to go back. And then my second album is Kendrick Lamar's Damn. I enjoyed it, like you said. I tend to see the album for its songs and not for the way it's like put together. So I guess like as a whole, like you said, it could use a little tweaking, but I think that the songs put on it are really solid. And then my number 1 album is Run the Jewels 3 by Brockhampton. So,
dude, what if that was a thing? Dude, we should make Run the Jewels 4.
Oh, and that would be like the first album. But yeah, I think Run the Jewels 3 is a very solid album. I think Killer Mike and LP are good as ever. They've really only gotten better from where they started, and I know that seems like an obvious thing, but it definitely cannot be said for everybody.
I kind of want them to continue working together, but I feel for some reason I just have this gut opinion or gut feeling that they're gonna work on some like solo stuff, because they've done 3 albums together, and I feel like maybe it's time for them to separate and then come back together at some point. But it's not a bad thing if they do separate.
I would still listen to their solo stuff.
Yeah, their solo stuff.
Either way, it would still be really good, but like.
Killer Mike's still one of the most talented rappers still today, and then LP is one of the most talented producers out. And their solo stuff that they released before Run the Jewels, Cure for Cancer by LP was a great album. Rap music, even though it had a lot of production, it was all production from LP, it was still good. And I feel like that would have been good regardless of who was the producer on the album. So yeah, if they do work on some solo stuff, it'd be cool. If they continue doing Run the Jewels, great. I feel like however they do it, it's gonna be good regardless.
Well, that's all I've got for my list.
Okay.
Cool stuff.
Time for some final questions before we go into E3. There's a couple things I want to cover before we go into E3. I have a couple questions. First one being, has 2017 been a good year for music? In my honest opinion, it hasn't been memorable like 2016. Look who we got in 2016. We got a Childish Gambino album. We got a Frank Ocean album. We got a Tribe Called Quest album. We got a De La Soul album. We got, what else? Whatever.
I mean, really, you can look at like anybody. Rihanna, Kanye, Drake, Beyonce, Kendrick. We've gotten literally every big name hip-hop artist, every big name pop artist in general. A lot of even rock musicians released albums last year, and I think that was really big. And then, of course, we had little surprises, like Injury Reserve, like Run the Jewels. Like, you didn't see these things coming, but they came out and they were still just as good. Oh, Teens of Denial. I didn't even know Car Seat Headrest existed until that album came out, and it's easily like one of the best of the year.
Yeah, 2016 was like a really, really good for music, and I feel like 2017 was gonna be a hard act to follow. It was just gonna be hard regardless. I don't think it's bad though, because we still like. It's been a good year for music, in my opinion, because like it was hard for me to choose best song, and it wasn't as hard for me to choose best album, but it doesn't mean like there hasn't been a lot of music out there. There's a lot of albums I didn't get to put on my list because I just haven't listened to them. So yeah, there's a bunch of albums I didn't get to listen to over the course of 2017. Like I didn't get to listen to Arca, the new Arca album. I didn't get to listen to the new Sampha album. Those are the first two albums that come to my mind, but it hasn't been a memorable year in music, but it's still good. And I feel like as time goes on, music is going to be kind of either it's going to be a really memorable year or it's just going to be an okay year. This year, it's a good year. It's like an okay year, but it's not like super iconic or anything. But one thing I really enjoyed about this year is there's a lot of music, like I got to listen to a lot of independent artists release music through YouTube, through SoundCloud and stuff like that I wouldn't have heard regardless. And it's nice that we get to see more music, more almost internet artists in a sense come through. Like people like Rich Chigga, even though he got to start last year, he's released a bunch of music this year. People like Keith Ape. I wouldn't have heard their music if it wasn't through the internet. And I feel like music's going to be more and more internet based as time goes on. But I think it's been a good year for music. It hasn't been super memorable, but it's been a good year. There hasn't been like a drought. Like this year, I've heard some people call this year like it's a drought. Like there's been no good music released this year. Have you not been on the internet? Have you not like attempted to search through music? There's been a hell of good music released this year. It's not super memorable or super iconic. It hasn't been a lot of established artists releasing music this year, but there's been a lot of good artists releasing music. That's my honest opinion about it. I don't know how you feel, but
no, I feel about the same. Like you said, like I think iconic is just a very good way to put it. Last year was super iconic, definitely hard act to follow, like you said. But musically, this hasn't been a bad year. You just have to dig more. You know, Fleet Foxes, not as big as, I don't know, not as big as like a lot of the artists.
Future.
Yeah, not as big as Future, not as big as Drake, but you know, their music is still good. LCD Sound System's coming out with a new album this year. Well, that's pretty iconic. When you look at it, there are some iconic things happening. LCD Sound System's coming out with a new album. Father Out John, Misty hadn't had one in a while. Gorillaz had an album coming out. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard coming out with 5 albums this year. Kendrick's new album. Like there are some high profile things happening, but I also think that like you said, like you have to dig a little bit to find what's good and what's not. Process, Mount Erie, the Mountain Goats, like not super common household names, but just as good of music all the same, you know.
I feel like as time goes on, as we get further and further into the future, popular music just becomes worse and worse. Not to say all popular music is bad, but I feel like as time goes on, the radio, just radio in general, just becomes super, super garbage. I listen to the radio and it's just trash. Especially like 102.9, a lot of the hip hop songs they're playing, they're just complete garbage. Like Lil Uzi Vert, he's bad. Kodak Black, he's bad. Who else? Future is god awful at times. It's just like it seems like we're getting more mumble rap from popular music. We're also getting like really, really poorly written pop music, which is a shame. Radio is going to be like a thing no one even pays attention to anymore, and it kind of already is. I don't listen to the radio at all. I just play music off my phone through an aux cord, and I feel like it's soon going to be like all that.
Like TV show at Nickelodeon.
Yeah. One thing I really enjoyed about this year is the amount of artists I did not know. I'm not like this because we have the show. Like, I'm not this like all-inspiring like music god. There's a lot of artists I do not know. I just like, I just don't. It's just because it's just like a lot of people threw under my radar. There's a lot of people I don't know, I'm unaware of, or I'm just recently discovering. Example being LCD Sound System. I wasn't into them until like a couple months ago. There's a lot of throughout the 2017. I've been discovering more and more new music, but of like the artists that we already know, who do you think is gonna drop music this year?
Oh yeah, I think TurboGrafx-16 is coming out.
If it's not, I would be disappointed.
I mean,
I don't think it'll be good. I feel like TurboGrafx.
It's gonna be so stupid, and like, part of me is like, I want to hear what Kanye has to do, because I was thinking about this. Like, I like to think about a lot of like different music aspects of things that I just really enjoy. For example, the harmonies that Kendrick Lamar uses. I was re-listening to Good Kid, Mad City over the weekend, and like the harmonies he uses are really strange, and the way that I don't like, just the way that he raps while he sings creates this really strange tone that is so iconic of him. I also feel like the way Kanye is falling out of the mainstream media, I like that. I like the way that he's beginning to experiment more. Not as much as somebody like, and I keep going back to like the underground groups, not as much as somebody like Sampha, Brockhampton, Injury Reserve, but like he's starting to just kind of do what he wants to do.
And I think Yeezus is a huge example of that.
Yeezus is a huge example. The Life of Pablo even is a huge example. Just he's doing whatever he wants to do, and is kind of following. That's why you don't hear Kanye on the radio. You used to hear things. You used to hear things from 808s. You used to hear things from Graduation a lot. You used to hear things from Late Registration a lot. But like, as he's grown as an artist, found out more of what he wants to do, he's signed on all sorts of artists that aren't really known. It's like what he deems are good. Francis and the Lights being one of them.
Yeah, even though he's not like the head of good music anymore, he still has the influence. Like Francis for the Lights. Francis for the Lights, think about this now, is a member of Def Jam. I want you to think about that for 2 seconds.
Yes.
Def Jam Records signed Francis in the Lights. How crazy does that sound?
And who did that?
It was Pusha T technically, but it was Kanye because they're buddy. Yeah.
Pusha T is Kanye Jr. I mean, really, he looks at the artists that he thinks are good and uses that influence. Everybody on earth could think Designer is garbage.
Designer is more of like a Pusha T thing, I think.
But like, I mean, still, like, he's on Kanye's label and Kanye like signed him, you know? He didn't sign Chance either, and I'm sure Chance wouldn't go with him because he wants to be independent. But you even hear Chance himself say, like, Kanye said he was proud of Chance. That doesn't happen like super often with artists like, well, I mean, bigger name like pop stars, you know, bigger named rappers. They don't do things like that anymore. Kanye's falling out of the mainstream because he's being his own person, and I have to applaud him on that. On the subject of TurboGrafx-16, I kind of want to hear what he has to do with the chip hop genre.
He's not going to do anything with chip hop.
I
very doubt it.
It might be.
I think,
but also, I would also be kind of mad because he's stepping on chip hop turf.
Yeah, it's TurboGrafx-16. I feel like he's gonna change. It's gonna change again. Not because he's like setting up this pattern of always changing his album. I feel like it's just a given. TurboGrafx-16 is probably just the working title they have, and I don't think it has to be anything with chip hop. I wouldn't be surprised if he covered more Yeezus territory of more of this kind of like industrial, loud hip hop. I feel like that's kind of more
jagged edge
hip hop.
That's what I think of as jagged edge and sharp images.
Sharper image.
Samsung.
See, I feel like that's the route he's probably gonna go down. But yeah, I completely forgot that Kanye said he was gonna drop TurboGrafx-16 eventually. I don't think that's gonna be this year. I feel like it may. I feel like he'll probably.
I think at some point it's gonna come out. I'm just throwing it on here.
Yeah.
Other album, I think Weezer's Black Album is gonna come out at some point this year. Kind of just waiting. I don't really know.
It's gonna be another Green album, or another.
I like the Green album.
Green album's just it doesn't Green. I like Green. Red has a lot of good moments. Green has some good moments. but they're kind of
Blue has the best moments.
Blue and Pinkerton and White Album have the best moments. But why? Just to hear what feels like summer. That's the track they dropped back in like April, right? Just to hear that, it's kind of like I felt kind of almost like they set something up in White Album and they just completely took their dick out and just pissed all over it. They're like, "Hey, you like the sound? Let's piss all over it, baby! Because I'm Rivers. I can do whatever the fuck I want."
Very well. It doesn't even have to be that track. Doesn't even have to be from the Black Album. It could be like Sleeping Powder. In your opinion, was 20 times better than the entirety of Humans itself. That could have just been like a leftover track that were like, doesn't really fit with the sound.
It's going to be on the album because they said it was going to be on the album.
They could change their mind.
If they go with that style, this almost like, it feels like Panic at the Disco almost rubbed off on them. Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy have like rubbed up on Weezer. With this new track that they have, it's almost like sample based in the sense, not a lot of instruments. It just sounds like Rivers and a producer, and I don't like it. And I hope for this new album, I'm not saying it has to be dark like Pinkerton or super poppy like Blue, but it shouldn't be like Weezer trying to do Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy. It shouldn't be like super, super poppy trash. It doesn't feel like they put any heart into it. And the fact that they just released an album like a year after the last one doesn't seem like they put a lot of effort into it, almost. That's my nice opinion on that. Do you have any other?
No, that's the only ones I have.
I have a couple. I have a theory. I've been saying this for probably about a couple months now. Andre 3000, he's going to release something. He's going to release something. Then why was he on Kid Cudi? Why was he on Kanye? Why was he on Travis Scott?
You could say that for every other year before 2017. Why has he never done a solo album? Why does he just keep releasing? Why does he keep doing features?
But why does he keep on like popping up? And it's weird.
Because he doesn't have a job.
It's just strange. And like, you think he goes in the studio and doesn't get like an itch to make more music? Doesn't think like that excites him?
I don't know. I tell you what we need is we need another scene of Class of 3000. That show was amazing.
I wouldn't be mad with that, honestly. That show was pretty good.
It was so good.
I don't know if I would like it now. I just remember it being really good when I was a kid. But yeah, Andre 3000, I feel like he's gonna drop something, and it's just a theory. In honesty, probably won't happen, but it's just a weird, wonked out theory that I have. And since Big Boy just dropped something like a week ago, it's not going to be an Outkast album. It's going to be an Andre 3000 solo project if he's releasing anything. Mm-hmm. After that, I feel like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I feel like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I feel like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard's upcoming album is going to be pretty good. The one that they're dropping in June. They're also dropping like 3 more albums. I feel like this next one's probably going to be their best out of all of them because from what it sounds, it's still experimenting with microtones, but it just sounds really, really cool. Yeah.
I thought it was just I thought they were doing, for every new album, they were going to do a new...
No, this one's still experimenting with microtones. It's still pretty good. All the teaser tracks I've heard have been really cool. I'm really excited for that. Mm-hmm. Also, Death Grips are dropping something this year. They released Steroids, Hidden Tiger, Crouching something, Mega Mix or whatever it's called. It was pretty interesting. I didn't really like it that much because I'm not a huge fan of Mega Mixes. I'd rather you just release an EP or something like that. I don't like 20-minute long mixes. It was still pretty good. I'm really excited to see what they release because every album that they release has been pretty good. The only one that I really haven't really enjoyed that much is Government Plates. That's been the only one that's kind of been iffy, but all the other albums have been really good, so I'm really excited to see if they release something this year, maybe next year. I don't know. Also, Pusha T supposedly has got to release something because King Push was supposed to come like 2 years ago, so I'm excited to see what it's gonna be. He says he's working with Kanye a lot, because when he started out working on the album, he said he was working with like Pharrell, but now it says it's mostly just him and Kanye, so I'm really excited to see how that sounds. Also, Tyler Creator, he posted a little teaser on his Twitter and Instagram saying 7 days. People are thinking it's album. I'm thinking it's probably going to be clothing. I don't think it's going to be anything. But he has released all of his albums in 2-year increments. He released like Goblin in 2011. He released Wolf in 2013, Cherry Bomb in 2015. So it makes sense if he released something this year, 2017. Every 2 years he releases something, it seems like. So it'd be cool if he doesn't. If he does. If he doesn't, oh well. I feel like this next album he's working on is probably going to be his best. Because it seems like with each album, there's always this like one iffy feature. There's always this one thing that kind of like, that makes the album kind of almost like bad in a sense. For the last album was the mixing. The mixing was really bad, but it showed a lot of potential. Wolf, a lot of the filler tracks were bad, and the same thing for Goblin. So I feel like for the next track, this next album, he'll probably have all of his mixing down. The production on the last album was great. It features like strings from Hans Zimmer and stuff like that, but I feel like this next album is going to be like some next level stuff, and I'm really excited to see what it's going to be. Also, Earl Sweatshirt, he's going to drop something eventually.
My sweatshirt.
Earl Sweatshirt, he released a couple tracks last year. He released a track with Knowledge for the Adult Swim Singles program. I thought that was great. He also dropped a track called Pecula, which really reminded me of like MF Doom instrumentals. Thought that was really cool. He was also on Really Dough, the Danny Brown track featuring Kendrick Lamar and Absol. I thought that his performance on that was probably the best verse in my opinion. It was really unique and interesting. I'm excited to see what he has next because I feel like Earl Sweatshirt has always been the best rapper of the group. Like, Frank's always been, like, the best singer, the best performer, but Earl's always been the most solid lyricist. And I'm really excited to see where he goes next, because Doors was alright. I feel like shit, I Don't Go Outside there was improvement. You can't deny there was improvement. It was also I thought it was a really unique, dark, moody album. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited to see what he drops next and see if he has improved or hasn't. I'm really excited to see. Also, there's also this Odd Future fanboy in me that's also really excited to see, like, what's it going to be. Yeah, that's all our predictions. I hope we get some of these. I hope we get an Andre 3000 album. You know, dope.
That would be so good,
but we're not. It just wasn't meant to be. Okay, you ready to get into some E3?
Yeah.
My honest opinion about E3 this year is it's kind of how music's been. E3 this year was alright, but last year was a hard act to follow, I feel like. Except for Nintendo. Nintendo's been the only improvement, but that's been...
I'm about to just take the stage here.
I want to cover like each conference a little bit. I only want to cover the stuff I really found important until we get into Nintendo. But E3 started with EA. They showed off a bunch of things. The things I want to cover: Star Wars Battlefront 2 looks cool. Looks like it might be an improvement of the last game. Last game was all right.
This is what the game should have been.
Yeah.
This should have been Star Wars Battlefront 1. It's got a story. It's got better multiplayer. It's got better DLC that's not, like, all convoluted and dumb. You know, like, it's just easier to, like, find your downloads. It's easier to... You know what I'm saying?
It's just
better. It's just better in every way, hopefully. It looks really good. Like graphically looks really good. So I'm probably going to pick it up if I see more of it. That looks good.
Another thing EA showed off that kind of surprised me, people who made Brothers, what was it? Brothers Tale of Two, something like that. I don't know. It was just Brothers.
Yeah, Tale of Two Brothers. Or
Tale of Two Brothers, something like that. They showed off a new game, a new co-op only game called A Way Out that looks really, really cool.
Let's do a Let's Play of it.
Yeah.
That would be so fun.
It's both online co-op and offline co-op, which is really, I feel like...
Offline would be... so much better communicating with your person, like, on the couch. It's basically a prison break game. It's like Shawshank.
I'm glad we're getting co-op games now. Again, it seems like a while we haven't had a really, really good co-op only experience. You can't play this game single player.
No.
Yeah, which is really unique. I want to move on to Microsoft after that. The Xbox One X. It just looks dumb. There's a lot of graphical enhancements, but I really wish they made like a huge deal out of it. But in the end, it's the only big thing is 4K, and it's a little bit better. But it feels like every year now, from both Sony and Microsoft were gonna get a new Xbox and a new PS4. I don't like the way they hype this up as it's a new like Xbox, like not Xbox, not just like a new version of the Xbox One, but like a new.
They talk about it like it's a new console.
Yeah, a new console completely, and it's not. I don't really like that. I don't like how they're really pushing a lot of things with it. It just seems like every year there's gonna be a new console, and like you're gonna have to change your console after like 2 years, or you can't play any of the games. That's the way the vibe they're kind of giving me. I'm all for like graphical enhancements, like the Sony Pro, PS4 Pro. I think it's pretty decent, and I feel like they should kind of go down that route. Sony didn't make a huge deal out of it, like a massive.
It just
deal.
bothers me that Xbox or Microsoft in general, I guess, is just. I feel like they're almost losing touch with their consumers. They're losing touch with what people want, and yeah, like graphics are really important, but it's almost like the way they were hyping it up, the way they just kept saying 4K, 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 console exclusive, exclusive, exclusive. It almost just looked like we hope that playing multi-platform games in higher resolution and more power is important to you. Please, please, please buy our games.
It's like they have good ideas, but they just can't execute them for shit. And that's kind of makes me sad, because the Xbox 360 was one of the best consoles of all time, and I will say that.
The Xbox 360 was like, it was really, really important to the development of Microsoft, I feel like, as a gaming powerhouse.
And then they just dropped down with the Xbox One. I own an Xbox One. I play a couple games on it, but other than that, I don't use it as much my PS4 or my PC, and there's nothing too special about it, which kind of sucks. Another one good thing they brought up during the press conference.
You put like everything that I was interested in for the Microsoft One.
Backwards compatibility for original Xbox. That's amazing. Nice. I applaud you for that.
I will applaud Microsoft on this one thing. That is like,
I don't know what games I would play, but it's nice that
Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, it's nice that you can. That's an N64 game.
There was a second one for Xbox.
Oh, was there? I didn't know.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
ToeJam and Earl 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Panic on Funkatron.
But yeah, it's nice move, Xbox. Good idea. You're at least heading in the right direction somewhat. Two indie games I want to talk about. The Last Night
looks so good.
It looks bad-ish, and I love it.
So fun.
We're not going to talk about it too much. Just look up the trailer for The Last Night, Xbox One exclusive. It's only Xbox One, which
that
is kind of a
bothers
shame.
me.
But it's great. It's going to be a great game. I don't care. I don't care. It looks amazing. Finally, Cuphead is actually going to be released.
Finally. and it's on PC too.
Oh, is it? Hey.
Now I can play it.
Hey. I thought this was like, I know how long it takes to like animate stuff, but I honestly
it's gonna look so good.
It's gonna look really good, and it's gonna probably be a good game. But if this game sucks,
it's not even worth it. You know,
rip them. Because they spent like, it seems like every year, every E3, they always hype this game up, but it's never gotten released late. And now it's finally gonna come out September 29th. I'm probably actually gonna buy this game.
I'm
really
probably gonna
interested.
get it. It looks fun.
Okay. Now on to Ubisoft. Ubisoft usually doesn't have some good stuff, but this year they had some interesting things I want to comment on. Two interesting things.
Two main things.
Mario and Rabbids. I never know I wanted an RPG with Mario and Rabbids at all, but now I'm somewhat interested to see what that would be.
I'm very interested. Two main things. It looks good, for one. When I first heard the leak, I was like, this is so stupid. And then you sent me the image, and you're like, what do you think? And I was like, I'll have to see more, because I thought that the first image looked so stupid. And like, they showed this like XCOM type gameplay that looks deeper than what I thought. And so far, I'm really happy with it. I would also like to applaud Ubisoft for taking up most of the time with this Nintendo game, so Nintendo didn't have to focus on it as much. That was one of my main worries going into Nintendo's press conference, is that they were going to focus so much on Mario Rabbids that there would be nothing else to say about like anything else, you know? They would focus all their time and energy on this, and we wouldn't get any new surprises, we wouldn't get anything. But Ubisoft focused on this the most, and they kind of took the flack for Nintendo, and I really appreciate it.
That's the thing I kind of felt about pretty much everyone's press conference, because usually there's some stuff covered at like both Microsoft's and Sony's press conferences, or like EA's and Microsoft, EA's and Sony's. But this year it seemed like there wasn't like duplicates.
There was no like bleed over, really,
which was nice. But Mario and Rabbids, like part of me kind of wanted this to be like a Mario Party type game, but I feel like it's better as an RPG.
I knew it would be an RPG, but I didn't know what it would be like.
I feel like it kind of is better as an RPG than it would be a party game. Beyond Good and Evil 2 looks interesting. I never played the original. I
really want to play the original, but this second one looks really cool.
And that's all I can really say about that. Bethesda had a kind of weak press conference. I feel like theirs was the weakest, but there was two.
I thought EA and Bethesda were really weak.
There's two good things that come out of it though. Skyrim's coming to Nintendo Switch, which we've known for a while, but it's gonna have Amiibo compatibility, which looks weird.
It's just like one thing.
Yeah, I like that idea though. How you could like use. You don't have to buy like a new Amiibo. It seems like you can just use old Amiibos.
Yeah, you just use Link and you can get like his armor in the game.
I like console exclusives that like.
Yeah.
Like a game that's already been out for like 20 years.
Yeah.
But it seems pretty cool. I wanna know what the Mario Amiibo for that is gonna be.
I really only think it's Link.
You really think
because
that's probably the only one that fits.
I mean, yeah, it's just like a sword fighter, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to put in than Mario's overalls and implement like actual abilities to every Amiibo released, you know.
Yeah. Also, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, looks really cool. I never played the first one. Kind of want to now.
I played the like Wolfenstein 3D like back in the day. That was fun.
The original Wolfenstein, not the original, but the original remake one, I heard was really, really good. This one seems really good from all the footage I watched, so I'm really excited for that. Sony, who I feel like had the best press conference. They have the most bullet points I kind of want to talk about. First of all, they closed off with Spider-Man, which was great. Spider-Man looks amazing. It does have a lot of QuickTime events, which I'm kind of iffy on.
You know, those don't bother me. QuickTime events don't bother me.
I don't... I feel like in that game they're kind of used too much, but I feel like it's better to do that than just watch cutscenes.
Yeah. So that's how I feel. Like, you interact with the game even more than just watching. So, like, I like the idea of that. But from what they showed, that's not all it's going to be.
Yeah, I feel like they're taking a lot of stuff from what made Batman Arkham great.
Yeah.
They're going to put it in, which seems really cool. Also, Days Gone surprised the hell out of me because I last year I was just like iffy on it, but this year the footage they showed off, I thought was really cool. There's still like a ridiculous amount of zombies, which we learned from last year's footage.
But this
year it seems like
open the floodgates in there.
It seems like they're actually like ravaged animals instead of just zombies, and they're just all over the place, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's also really intense. So,
personally, I'm a little iffy on it because it just seems I feel like zombie games are like oversaturated, like in the market. I'm just kind of tired of them. Like, do something else. But I do like a lot of the feel of it. I like the open world addition to that. I like the biker gang kind of aesthetic to that. I think that's always something that I've wanted to explore more in a game, is like a biker gang kind of feel. Like the closest I've gotten to it is Full Throttle, and that's like a point and click adventure game. Still good, but definitely not the way that this could be. But I also feel like there's gonna be something in Days Gone that's gotta really like sell me. Something different, something I haven't seen before, and it's gotta really sell me before like I pick this one up.
I don't think this is gonna be like Game of the Year or anything. I do think it's gonna be better than State of Decay, better than Dying Light, better than Dead Island. All those zombie games, I feel like they're actually putting effort into. Is Naughty Dog making it? Is that who's making this? Who's making?
Let me do some research. On.
We'll look on that. I'll continue. Shadow of the Colossus. It's actually getting like a remake.
This better be good.
Remaster. I don't know what it is. I think it's a remake.
It's a remaster.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. It's made by S.A.D. Bend Studio.
Okay, I've never heard of them before. I thought it was Naughty Dog for a second, but
they've done some. Let's see. They did the Uncharted PS Vita game.
Oh. Siphon
Filter, Bubsy 3D.
So they really haven't had anything.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they really have anything to prove themselves.
Yeah.
But Shadow of the Colossus, I think it's gonna be good. Haven't played the original. I'll play this though.
Side note: it better be good because it was remastered on PS3, and the climbing feature was it almost made the game unplayable. It was like so flawed. There was a bug in the system that did not like work correctly. So really, like, I wish there was some added content to it. I wish there were, because there were a lot of like colossi that were cut from the original game, and now that they've got the power to be able to put that in there, I wish they would do that, but I don't know for sure like what's gonna happen.
So they did make a remaster for PS3.
Yeah, but it wasn't like as
Okay, I just didn't know that.
Yeah.
Also, Call of Duty World War II just looks... It's still a stupid Call of Duty game. I'm going to get it. But it looks, out of all the previous Call of Duties that released the last 4 years, it looks playable.
I like the return to form.
Infinite Warfare looked like a mess. Call of Duty, it's just supposed to be that stupid game that you can play at any point in time and just kind of have fun with it. Or rage, or whatever. But this looks pretty good. I'm really excited for it. I don't think it'll be like Game of the Year or anything, but it just looks like a decent, playable Call of Duty, which is all I really wanted. God of War continues to look great. I'm really excited for it. I love how this game is like Norse, right? Norse mythology, right? That's what this is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Norse stuff, so that's really cool.
I'm really excited to see like what's that gonna be. The footage they showed us looked really cool. I love the father-son relationship. I think that's gonna be fun around to play with. Also, Detroit.
That's kind of cool.
Detroit. It's kind of like how how Donald Glover made Atlanta, but Danny Brown made a video game called Detroit, where he's an upcoming rapper, and
and he's also a police officer.
Yeah, that's it, definitely. Yeah, but Detroit. Next game, Detroit. Detroit looked really interesting. It's more depth that I kind of wanted from when they showed it off last year, and I think that was really needed. And I'm excited to see how it's gonna play or how it's gonna be. And I think that's it for Sony. Now, I think Trevor, I'm just gonna let you have it for Nintendo.
Okay.
You can rant on for 4 hours.
There are so many things that I want to cover with this. First off, I agree that Sony won E3, but I also think that an argument could easily be made for Nintendo. I think both of their conferences were so top-notch. It was minimal chit-chat, games being shown, surprises. It was really refreshing to see this. I think that Nintendo's E3 conferences in the past have been kind of weak, but I think with the Switch, it's really we're starting to see a turnaround for Nintendo.
Even when they had the Wii U, they had pretty solid press conferences. I remember like about 2-3 years ago when they were both dropping Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. That was a really solid press conference. This year it was another solid press conference. I personally didn't like it as much as Sony's, but it was still really good. I'm really excited to see how Nintendo is gonna continue working with.
It just really seemed like they knew what they were doing. For things that they left out, I was so happy that they left out Mario Rabbids. Again, like, it's something that I want to see. It's something that I'm interested in, but I didn't want it to take up so much of their time. I'm really glad that they left out things like Splatoon and ARMS that weren't technically out at the time of the press conference, because ARMS just released like last week or so, last Friday, I think, 2 Fridays ago maybe. But I'm really glad that they didn't like
spend time on
games that were coming out so soon. Splatoon, we all know it's coming up. There's no use of spending the time on it because we know quite a bit about it. Otherwise, the Xenoblade 2 trailer, they did a Fire Emblem Warriors trailer as well. Both of those, not super interesting to me, but like for the fans, that's big. They did some Breath of the Wild DLC. I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild, like, as is. I was excited to see what the DLC coming up was, and I think that they're going to be doing some really cool stuff. A new Yoshi game, a new Kirby game, both of them are cool.
Okay, wait, is the new Yoshi game, like, a yarn game?
It looks like a yarn game, but it looks more like he's in a diorama.
Okay, because the Yoshi yarn game is pretty cool, and the Kirby game is also pretty cool. So
I think, like, I'm excited for this Yoshi game, like, just looking at it. A couple of the surprises: Rocket League is coming to Switch.
Not surprising.
It surprised me, at least, because I didn't think that they were going to do that. But there's like Mario themed items. It's also cross-network play too.
Was that one of my predictions of games that were going to drop when they were going to drop the Switch? Because I remember giving like a buttload of predictions.
But we talked about it, I know. favorite moments of the thing. First one is when the developers of the Switch just sat there and he said, "We are so relieved that you guys like this console." I was like, this is a big name company talking to me, Trevor, talking to its fans. It's not talking in this corporate jargon like EA tends to do or Microsoft tends to do. They just sat down, they looked me in the eyes, they say, "We are so happy and so relieved." That's a direct quote, that we like the Switch. I was like, you guys are really like, it just felt very intimate. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that a big name company like that was talking like that. I think that they knew that a lot of things were riding on the Switch. I think that they knew that a lot of the future of Nintendo was riding on the Switch console itself. And from what it sounds like, things are going really well in that field. Oh, they also announced that a new Pokemon RPG, like a core franchise game, is coming to the Switch. Yeah. Sometime, it might even be a year from now. It might be in 2018, 2019, but it's coming, and that's important. The biggest reveal was the Metroid Prime 4, something that people have been gunning for forever. They wanted it on the Wii, they wanted it on the Wii U, they wanted it on the Switch, and it's finally coming officially in development, and I'm so excited for it.
I like how, like, a couple weeks ago, I joked about how they're never going to release a Metroid game when we're talking about the Switch, and they were like, they listened to our podcast, they were like, oh shit, we have this...
prove them wrong.
500 Metroid games.
So, I'm super excited for that. Last thing, of course, the biggest part of the trailer.
Can I describe this in, like, 2 words?
Yes.
Hats!
Super Mario Odyssey looks so good. Absolutely amazing. One of the, like, only vocal video game tracks that I, like, enjoy. The trailer looks so fun. Throwing your hat, capturing enemies, the Mexican world, the wooded jungle world, the streets world, and you're flying up on buildings, and it's called New Donk City, and Pauline from Donkey Kong is the mayor. Like, you can't get any better than that. This is crazy.
And they kind of took, like, the weirdness of Super Mario Galaxy and they just turned it up to, like, 20. It's great.
There's so many weird things. I cannot wait for Odyssey to come out. I actually have it pre-ordered already.
This is probably going to be the only reason I buy a Switch.
Odyssey looks amazing.
Because I'm not huge into Splatoon or, like, Zelda, but Mario Odyssey just looks dope.
I think you'd like it if you tried it. But, like, even, like, just down to the wedding outfits on Mario, Bowser, and Peach, they're adorable. It's crazy. Like, they put so much effort into this. I've watched a lot of gameplay footage. I've watched like a lot of this the treehouse stuff that they did, and Odyssey looks so much fun. I cannot wait for October 27th to come. Like, I just want to play this so bad.
Wait, October 27th? So that's my birthday. Oh. Huh. Nintendo. Trying to outshine my birthday. Fuck you, Nintendo!
Another big thing I wanted to focus on for the press conference is that they focused on the Switch primarily. They didn't really talk about the 3DS, and I was like, is it dead? Is it dead? Part of me wants it to live on, but also part of me wants the Switch to be the main focus. I think that the Switch is definitely the main focus. They announced a couple Pokemon games like earlier, 2 weeks ago maybe, where they were like, oh, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are coming out. They didn't talk about that at all. They didn't even make any mention of that, and I was worried about that. The Treehouse afterward, the live stream that happened from their press conference on until the end of E3, focused on a lot of the 3DS stuff. I can't blame them. I'm happy about it. Plus, there's a new Metroid game coming to 3DS. 2 new Metroid games. That's coming out September 15th. That's my brother's birthday. And then they are remaking Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga for the 3DS, which I'm also really excited for. So I think that Nintendo's got a lot of solid stuff coming up, and they've got a lot of my money already.
Okay, I got 3 important questions, not all related to Nintendo.
Okay.
That I feel like we should guess. For one, when's the Spider-Man game dropping? What was your prediction on that? I'm feeling like very early next year, or just maybe. No, not very early next year. How about like next year, like Q4 sometime around that point, probably around like November, around the holidays. I feel like that's when Spider-Man's going to come out. They haven't announced a release date, so I'm assuming then. If not, As long as they take their time with it, I don't care.
I mean, yeah, I
It's
would
not a
dare
rush.
say around that time. I just want Spider-Man to be good.
Second question: How long will the 3DS be supported?
I'm going probably a year to a year and a half at the most, because they know that the Switch is taking off really well, but I think that they want to make sure that it's got to stay afloat.
I would say 2 years.
2 years?
Mm-hmm. Before it becomes, I don't know, maybe 2 years before they start making games, stop making games for it, or
Well,
at least
I feel like
Nintendo products start making games for it.
I think like ports will continue, or small games, but no like big name games. And we're starting to see that now. Metroid, of course, big name game. Superstar Saga remake, not so big, but still, it's like a bigger thing. It's still a Mario game. I think after a while, it'll just be ports and small games.
Yeah. Final question: When are we getting a new Super Smash Brothers? I'm saying 2 years as well for that one. Before they announce it, at least.
I'm thinking that... Okay, so like a rumor before the Switch came out was that they were going to be porting Super Mario Maker, the Smash 4 for the Wii U and 3DS, specifically the Wii U, I guess, Pokken Tournament, and Mario Kart 8. They were going to be porting them to the Switch because a lot of people missed out on the Wii U. They've already done Mario Kart 8. They're doing Pokken Tournament, which also looks kind of cool. Pokemon Tournament DX. And so, in a way, I kind of felt like Smash 4 would be like almost like a Game of the Year edition, like a deluxe with all the DLC, all the new stages, all the new characters, costumes, Mii fighters, whatever. Part of me still hopes they do that because they want to give Sakurai a break. But as we get later and later into the Switch's first year, it almost seems pointless to do the launch of that. I think for the next port that they do is definitely going to be Smash Bros. If they do the port. Otherwise, I think it'll be probably 2 to 3 years before a new Smash comes out.
I feel like they're not going to do like a Game of the Year editions or like an upgrade. I feel like they might just do like a kind of a simple port for a virtual console. It's not going to get like an actual release, not physical release. I feel like that's if they do release that, that's what's going to happen. I feel like they're going to spend time on working on the next Smash Brothers instead of doing that. So they could drop a port. I wouldn't be surprised, but
I think that just because it was in the cards, they're working on it, and that like it's not going to be Virtual Console because Virtual Console isn't even set up for Switch. It's not even confirmed. Nobody's talked about it at all. So like, I'm still looking at that. I think since it was in the cards already, the Smash port was in the cards already, they might continue on with it. But I also know Sakurai's very tired. Making a game like Smash takes a lot out of you, and making a game as expansive and in-depth as Smash 4, the biggest entry in the series, would take even more out of you, of course. But I think that also they're waiting to see where the Switch will stand after about a year, you know? The same way I was talking about the 3DS, they don't know like if they're going to continue making games because they want to make sure that the Switch is afloat. I think that they want to make sure that the Switch is going to sell and stay afloat before they pour all the resources into a new Smash game. Because like as good as Smash 4 was for the Wii U, I guarantee you it didn't sell as well as Brawl or Melee.
next week's show, we're going to be doing 2 reviews I've been kind of anticipating. Kirin J. Callinan with Bravado, Brockhampton, Saturation, 2 albums we both enjoyed, and I kind of want to talk about them. So that's next week. Till next time, guys, make sure you like our Facebook page, subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbeam, Google Play Music, and iTunes. We did it, baby! We're on media. On other medias, we did it. They didn't immediately reject us. If you want to submit a question for next week's episode, there's a link in the description. I don't think anyone's ever going to submit us a question because we're weird. And if you like our theme song, it's produced by our friend DJ Quest. Our intro song is called No Sleep. Our outro song is called Reply. He's a huge friend. Support him. Links are in the description.
He's a huge friend. This guy's huge.
Links are in the description. This has been episode 4 of the Anthony and Todd Show. List a week. More like your list a week.
Boy.
Boy. Until next, guys, I've been Voncent.
I've been Trevor.
This is the Anthony and Todd Show. See you guys
Goodbye,
next
guys.
week as I talk in this weird accent. Baby.